The equation they couldn't solve. Part 1. The admission they never wanted. Darius Cole stood before the towering iron gates of Lockwood University, a place whispered about in elite circles, known for producing Nobel laureates and preserving tradition so fiercely it bled through the ivy-covered walls. He didn't arrive in a town car or with an alumni surname stitched into his suitcase. He'd taken 3 buses and walked the last mile, his scuffed sneakers brushing against fallen golden leaves. As he approached the admissions hall, a tall student in a crisp navy blazer raised an eyebrow. "Lost, are you?" he asked with a smirk. "Freshman orientation's over there for the community college." Darius didn't respond. He tightened his grip on his acceptance letter, crumpled at the corners, but legitimate, and kept walking. Inside, the welcome line crawled forward. Behind the desk sat a registrar who barely looked up. "Name?" she asked. "Darius Cole." She paused. Her eyes flicked up at him, then down again, tapping at the keyboard. "Your schedule is under departmental review. Pick up your packet next week." Darius frowned. Everyone else got theirs just now. "There's no mistake," she said curtly, already calling the next student. Behind him, someone muttered, "Affirmative action, obviously." Darius didn't flinch. He'd expected whispers. What they didn't know, what no one at Lockwood could have imagined, was that Darius had scored 800 on the math SAT without a tutor. He'd been solving abstract equations since age 12. Numbers didn't scare him. People did. The mathematics department at Lockwood was a fortress, not a home. And its gatekeeper? Dr. Victor Hallstrom, a silver-haired academic icon. Hallstrom authored the university's most revered textbooks and chaired the department with surgical authority. He opened the departmental welcome with a challenge. "Look to your left. Now to your right. One of you won't make it to winter." His cold gaze fell briefly on Darius. "This is not remedial mathematics. This is war. And mediocrity has no place in this battle." After the session, Darius stepped forward. "Professor Hallstrom, I'm Darius Cole. Office hours are on the syllabus," Hallstrom snapped. "I just wanted to introduce myself." Hallstrom paused. The committee had quite the discussion about your file." The way he said discussion stung more than any slur. Darius nodded. "I'm looking forward to your class." "Are you?" Hallstrom's tone was icy. "We shall see, Mr. Cole." That evening, Darius unpacked in a modest dorm room, far removed from the luxurious setups of his peers. He placed an old pocket watch, his grandfather's, on the desk. A man who'd calculated farming yields in his head, but was never allowed inside a college classroom. "Numbers never lie," his grandfather used to say, "and they don't care what color your hands are." As Darius walked into his first advanced mathematics lecture, he chose a middle seat, not too eager, not too invisible. Students around him laughed and joked, many clearly second or third-generation Lockwood legacies. Only one person sat beside him, a girl with paint-streaked jeans and an air of defiance. "I'm Lydia Reyes," she said, sticking out her hand. "Double major, math and visual arts. Basically a walking disappointment." "Darius Cole," he replied. Lydia tilted her head. "A freshman in Hallstrom's class?" Bold move. The door slammed open. Hallstrom entered, flanked by 2 lieutenants, Dr. Marissa Vaughn, queen of probabilistic theory, and Dr. Ellis Crane, a cold computational savant. It was like watching generals march into battle. "No reviews. No hand-holding," Hallstrom announced. "We'll begin with an analytical challenge. 30 minutes. Begin. 3 problems." The third was devilish, graduate-level theory, disguised as a test of fundamentals. Darius smiled slightly. His mother had given him puzzles harder than this during hospital night shifts to keep him busy. He was done in 15 minutes. "Mr. Cole," Crane said sharply, "is there an issue?" "No, sir. I've completed the test." A hush fell over the room. Hallstrom's expression twisted in disbelief. "Completed or surrendered?" Darius handed him the paper. Hallstrom read the solutions, his jaw tightening with every line. "Let's examine problem 3. He transcribed Darius' solution onto the board. He's attempted a shortcut to the Hamilton sequence. Critique. Silence. Mr. Cole, would you like to defend your unorthodox method? Darius stood. The traditional method takes 16 steps. Mine takes 9. Crane scoffed. Impossible. May I? Darius took the chalk. He filled in the steps Hallstrom had deliberately omitted. The logic was tight. The math was clean. The room went silent, then murmured with disbelief. It works for any polynomial with prime denominators, Darius added. Hallstrom didn't respond. The bell rang. Class was over. Lydia leaned in. You just became public enemy number 1. Outside, through an open office door, Darius heard Professor Vaughn's voice. Statistical anomaly. No student from that background should be capable of this. His file's suspicious, Crane added. Could be cheating. Let's apply. Special oversight, Hallstrom said coldly. Rigorous evaluation. We'll make him earn every inch. Darius walked on, but something in his chest burned. This wasn't about math anymore. This was war. Part 2, the setup. By the second week, Darius Cole's name had become a whispered warning. In lectures, Dr. Vaughn would call on him without notice. Mr. Cole, explain the implications of infinite-dimensional Hilbert spaces on non-differentiable manifolds. Now, but he answered, every time, calmly, thoroughly. Meanwhile, Dr. Crane refused to even look at him. When returning graded assignments, he dropped Darius' papers face down on the desk without comment. His perfect scores spoke for themselves, but silence carried a different weight. And then came the assignments. Not regular coursework, the special challenges. Hallstrom would pass them out with surgical precision. Mr. Cole, perhaps your prodigious abilities are best applied here. The problems weren't just difficult, they were sadistic. Sourced from obscure doctoral theses, written to humiliate. Other students began to notice. Some whispered encouragement. Most stayed silent. Lydia Reyes didn't. You need to go to the dean, she urged one night in the library. Darius shook his head. They'd just say I wasn't up to Lockwood standards. This isn't standards, Lydia hissed. It's sabotage. He didn't respond. His fingers brushed the worn face of his grandfather's watch. It ticked, steady and unjudging. The only place Darius found peace was in the margins of his notebook, working on a different kind of problem, a private obsession, the Ramsey-Braxton conjecture, an unsolved mathematical riddle dismissed by most as impossible. But Darius was different. He saw patterns others missed, possibilities others feared. When midterms approached, Hallstrom announced his coup de grace. While Professors Vaughn and Crane will offer traditional assessments, my exam will be a custom take-home assignment. Individualized. 48 hours. No extensions. Darius' packet arrived sealed. 12 problems, each a gauntlet. Some required knowledge most students wouldn't encounter until their 3rd year of graduate school. He spread the pages across his dorm floor. His hands trembled. This was academic execution. But at 3:14 a.m., something clicked. They're not 12 problems, he whispered. They're 1. By dawn, he had solved all of them, through a framework so elegant it reduced entire pages of computation into a sequence of 9 tight derivations. It was beautiful, but when the grades came back, his result read, incomplete. He was summoned immediately. Inside Hallstrom's office, Darius faced the Holy Trinity, Hallstrom, Vaughn, and Crane. How does a freshman, Hallstrom began, with no advanced coursework, submit work containing graduate-level proofs that mirror published journal entries? You think I cheated? We know. Crane said, you didn't derive those independently. We're offering you a way out, Hallstrom said smoothly. He slid a document across the desk. An academic warning. You sign, we move on. No investigation. Your record stays mostly intact. And if I don't sign, then we escalate. Formal inquiry. Probation. Suspension. Darius stared at the paper. Everything he'd worked for, the scholarship, his mother's faith, hinged on this moment. The weight of generations pressed into his chest. Then, the door burst open. I object, Lydia Reyes said, breathless. You've been targeting him since day 1. I heard it. I heard everything. This is none of your concern, Vaughn snapped. It's everyone's concern, Lydia countered. And if this goes to a hearing, I'll testify. The professors went silent. Hallstrom's jaw clenched. Expect a notice from the Academic Integrity Committee, Mr. Cole. This isn't over. They escorted them both out. Outside the office, Darius finally let the wall crack. He didn't cry, but the stillness in his eyes said more than tears ever could. What now? Lydia asked. I don't know, he whispered. Maybe I don't belong here. Hell yes, you do, she said. But if they're going to come for you with math, then give them math they've never seen before. Part 3, The Reckoning. The hearing was set for 11 a.m., room 302 of the administration building, a chamber lined with portraits of long-dead founders, all white, all frowning. But Darius wasn't walking in alone. At his side was Professor Wen Zhao, a reclusive genius in number theory who'd quietly mentored Darius for the past month. Zhao had seen his work on the Ramsey-Braxton conjecture and said only 5 words, "This is worth a war." The hearing room was packed. Students lined the back wall, Lydia front and center. But more surprising were the guests seated directly behind Darius. Dr. Mira Feldman of MIT. Dr. Kenji Okada from Kyoto University. And the director of the National Mathematical Foundation. All had come after hearing rumors about a student who might have made progress on one of math's holy grails. Hallstrom, Vaughn, and Crane presented their accusations. His methods mirror published techniques. He either had help or access to restricted material. The committee turned to Darius. I didn't plagiarize anything, he said evenly. Here's my notebook. Every step, every failed attempt, every breakthrough. If I copied, where are the sources? That could have been fabricated, Vaughn said, but her voice had lost its bite. Then Professor Zhao stood. If there's doubt, he said, let him solve a new problem. Now, on the board. Hallstrom hesitated, then scrawled an equation so malicious it might have been designed to fail a doctoral candidate. Darius stepped forward, hands trembling, then steady. For 26 minutes, he worked in silence. When he stepped back, the board was filled with tight, immaculate logic. The solution, he said, converges to this value. Alternatively, I could use Euler's reflection if you prefer fewer steps. Dr. Okada broke the silence. That is correct. Dr. Feldman nodded, and beautifully reasoned. The committee cleared their throats. Mr. Cole, the chair said, you're cleared of all accusations. This matter is resolved. But the fallout wasn't over. By week's end, Hallstrom had quietly submitted his resignation. An independent review unearthed decades of biased gatekeeping, unequal grading patterns, strategic discouragements, all aimed at students from underrepresented backgrounds. Dr. Vaughn issued a carefully worded apology. Dr. Crane transferred to another institution. Lockwood changed. And Darius? He stayed. By year's end, the International Journal of Theoretical Mathematics had published his partial solution to the Ramsey-Braxton conjecture, opening doors to new approaches worldwide. He became a research fellow by sophomore year and launched a new mentorship program to bring underserved high school students to Lockwood for advanced instruction. On his desk sat his grandfather's watch, still ticking. One afternoon, as he finished a lecture for visiting students, the dean arrived with a guest, the chair of the National Science Foundation. We'd like to take your model and expand it nationally, she said. Later that night, on a call with his mother, Darius said, they tried to break me. She laughed softly. No, baby, she replied. They tried to test you. And just like always, you solved it.